Hello everybody and welcome to the channel, Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host, Krabbyterror8, and here we are in episode 20. Can you believe it? It's episode 20 of the Investigator games. They said it couldn't last, and here I am, episode 20, going on strong, really enjoying the Investigator games. And here we are with Father Mateo, who has stepped up to the plate to do the Investigator games this episode. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Investigator games, it's a little bit like the Hunger Games. We take each investigator solo and we put them through a scenario. Well, we're starting with the Gathering, and we'll move on to Midnight Masks in a few weeks. And we see how they do, and then we put them in a league table from the most successful investigator to the least successful. And here is the league table as it currently stands. Yes, and those at the top, currently Safina, Akachi, and Leo are crowned in glory. And those at the bottom, Lola and Zoe and Jim, hang their heads in shame and hopefully will do better in the next scenario. So, yes, it's the table's getting quite, as you can see, quite crowded. We might have to move it across 2 pages the way that we're going, but we'll see how much we can fit in. I probably don't need the words league table so far, so I probably can fit them all in. So, yes, Finn was last week, and we can see that he did reasonably okay. He's now number 9. He managed to defeat the Ghoul Priest by turn 11, and he gained Leader Chandler. Not many people have gained Leader Chandler. In fact, only 4 investigators so far, I think. No, 5 investigators have done that. So not the most popular option. We can also see that if you want to do the investigator games the fastest, you've got to do this in 7 turns to be the fastest, which is blisteringly fast. Ashcam Pete is currently holding the record at 8 turns. Nobody has managed to investigate the cellar and the attic and the study and defeat the Icy Ghoul and the Flesh Eater and the Ghoul Priest, which would be quite an achievement, which would put them at the top of the table. So that's still something to be attained, and in that case, it doesn't matter how long it takes you in that case. So we'll see how Father Mateo goes in the Investigator games. And before we move forward, just some spoilers. I'm assuming you know the Gathering, that you know how to play Arkham Horror, the card game. This isn't a how-to kind of video, so if you are new to the game, I would heartily encourage you to seek out videos that talk about how to play for beginners. I won't be doing that. If you're interested in Octagon, there's always a link to a great tutorial about how to use Octagon as well, which I heartily recommend. And the other thing I should recommend is Twisted Tentacle in Vase Odin's background, Know Your Investigator. Really excellent series, and I watched that before diving into Father Mateo, and I found it a great background, just general background about him, his lore, some things about his stats and his abilities. So I would also heartily recommend that, and I will put a link to that in the notes as well. So I had the good fortune of talking to Father Mateo in the green room. He's currently standing there in the study, just waiting. Looks like he's praying. He's got his rosary beads, just sitting in the study praying quietly. And the crowds are still filing in, buying their popcorn and drinks and those sorts of things. But I spoke to Father Mateo before we started, and yes, he's a gentle and lovely man, really, to talk to. I really enjoyed my time talking to him. racked with concern and weirdly wonderment at the mythos all at the same time. I certainly share his concern. There's even things in the green room which were a little bit concerning. Yeah, and actually, like a lot of investigators, he left something behind. So he left a crucifix behind that he blessed, which is on the mantelpiece in the green room, and seems to be having a positive effect, because some of the other things that are in the green room seem to be not glowing or impacting things quite the way they were. So that's nice to see. He's not a very competitive individual, which I didn't expect him to be. He's not interested in winning and losing. That's not what he's about. He's more interested in all of the investigators sharing in, well, as he puts it, God's glory and enjoying the brotherhood and sisterhood of the investigator games. And he prayed for us all and blessed the games, which he thinks are very worthwhile. So I do really appreciate that from Father Mateo. So we will see how he goes in the investigator games. I tried to push him on other investigators, this sort of slightly controversial thing about what some investigators have been saying about others, how the Ghoul Priest has been doing a lot for occupational health and safety. But to be honest, Father Mateo is not really particularly interested in those sorts of discussions. Fair enough. But he did say if investigators were troubled by anything, if they were finding the investigator games brought up any issues for them, that he's always available to listen to their concerns and provide any guidance that he can. So I'm just saying that to the investigators who might be watching, or future investigators that might be watching, that Father Mateo has made that offer, and that's a very generous offer, I think. So there we go. So yes, let's have a look at Father Mateo. Let's have a look at his stats first of all. So he doesn't suffer from the one stat that Ursula and Leo and indeed Finn have suffered from in with these Forgotten Age investigators. So that's somewhat of a relief, because it's quite difficult to play with a starter deck where, as we saw with Finn last week, where you have a 1 on some kind of stat, or indeed Ursula. So he's got reasonable stats from that perspective. He has some interesting abilities, and I think I would probably say Father Mateo is a master manipulator, but in the best possible way, because he's a master manipulator of the Chaos Bag. And indeed, there are lots of opportunities as a mystic to do all kinds of shenanigans with the Chaos Bag. And as we'll see in this starter deck, that's indeed the case. So he has a couple of abilities here. So his special ability is a fast ability, which after an investigator reveals which in this case that would be him, because there are other investigators, but in a multiplayer you could have other investigators. If you reveal a chaos token, cancel that token and treat it as an elder sign. Limit once per game, so you can only do this once. Now, a number of people have pointed out that from a statistical perspective, the chance of you drawing more than one chaos token in a given game is fairly low. So it's not a good idea when you're playing solo in particular. I mean, when you're playing multiplayer, you've got a lot more draws happening. But in solo, if an auto fail comes up, take advantage of the elder sign token rather than waiting for some future time that might never happen. So that's his first thing, but that's only once per go. The other thing is the elder sign effect. If you draw the elder sign, you automatically succeed. So there's no +1, +2. It's an automatic success, which, to do with the manipulation of the Chaos Bag, I've watched a number of videos, and I can't. There's more than one, but there's a number of videos by Man from Lang, Whisperer in the Darkness, I think it is, where he has some really great stats on the impact of manipulating the Chaos Bag. And actually Father Mateo's ability to automatically succeed does really impact the statistics of drawing successful draws when you are manipulating the Chaos Bag. So if you draw an Elder Sign, you automatically succeed, and after this test ends, you can either draw a card and gain a resource, or if it's your turn, you may take an additional action. So that's very nice. Actually, I will see if I can find a video that I saw recently with a lot of the statistics, which will give you an idea from the man from Lang, and the great work he's done in laying out whether manipulation of the Chaos Bag is actually worthwhile or not, because it isn't always worthwhile. It really depends on the circumstance and the investigator. But having an automatic success does make a difference. So that's Father Mateo. He's going to be very interesting to play because of this manipulation of the Chaos Bag, which is not something I normally do. So, but I think if you are going to play Father Mateo, Chaos Bag manipulation is clearly a thing, and it will be interesting to see how that goes in the gathering with the investigator games. So on that, let's have a look at his deck. This is the starter deck, the official starter deck by Fantasy Flight Games. And the first thing I want to say is if you actually look at the reverse side of Father Mateo, you can actually, and maybe I should just bring this up just here, you can actually see that you start with bonus experience. So you can begin the campaign with 5 additional experience. Wow, so that's quite a thing to start with. Now, in this particular case, I'm not going to do that because I think that gives Father Mateo an unfair advantage in this first scenario where everybody else is starting with their starter decks. Having said that, you can keep that experience for subsequent scenarios, and I think in that circumstance that's fair game. So when we do the Midnight Masks and Father Mateo comes up, whatever experience or victory points experience points he gains from this one, we will use those 5 additional experience points because that's a fundamental part of his makeup. And so I think once the gathering is finished, all bets are off. Whatever experience points you are allowed or you have gained or you are entitled to, then you use those to your advantage. But I don't think that would be right in this beginning part. So that's the first thing to say. And indeed, Fantasy Flight Games have not taken advantage of those 5 bonus experience points. For some reason, you would think they would in his opening hand, but they actually haven't. So they haven't done that either. So we're starting with his starter deck. So let's look at his Codex of Ages. So this is his asset that he has. And basically this allows you to seal the Elder Sign. And while it's sealed, you get +1 to your willpower while it's sealed. And then this is quite nice. When you would reveal a Chaos token from the Chaos Bag, you can discard the Codex of Ages and just resolve as an Elder Sign. So I can already see where that would be of distinct advantage with the Ghoul Priest. Is we're facing off the Ghoul Priest. We've got Shriveling in play. We've got the Codex of Ages down. We just hit him with the Elder Sign, so we don't have to worry about failing, and we can do the damage as required. So that's the obvious place to use something like that in the gathering. So nice. Now this of course is a little bit more challenging in multiplayer because you're sealing away the Elder Sign for other people as well, but in solo, no big deal. His weakness is no big deal either. It's just a Serpents of Yig, which basically they also seal it away, and basically you got to kill these Serpents of Yig, which, yeah, whatever, that's fine. They're not particularly difficult monster to manage as long as we've got some weaponry on the table, and we'll talk about that in a second. So interestingly though, if you already have this out with the token sealed away, then Serpent of Yig wouldn't get it, and you couldn't play this if this was already out, because you can only play this if you conceal the tokens. So they have some interesting interactions. So there you go. We drew the random weakness paranoia. Discard all your resources. Okay, fine. So, yeah, that's all fine. Shriveling, and then, so those are the three main ones. And then we've got lots of interesting cards here. First of all, the card we're going to need to defeat the Ghoul Priest is really Shriveling. And there's only one of them in the deck. So we need this card, but we can't use up the 4 charges. Unlike with the Kachi, when we can recharge it, we don't have that ability. So it's not impossible to defeat the Ghoul Priest without the Shriveling, but it's much more difficult. So we'll of course be holding that over. Luckily, it's got 2 knives in the deck, so we can use those for standard fighting. Our fight ability isn't too bad. It's 2. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's it's okay. So we can manage most things with that. Our evasion is 3. So, we should be able to manage things okay, particularly if we can use some of these chaos manipulation pieces and our evasion. So we have got quite a lot of chaos bag manipulation with Dark Prophecy, Fast Play. When you would reveal a chaos token, you reveal 5 tokens instead, and you choose one of the symbols. So that allows you to really manipulate the chaos bag. Indeed, the Chthonian Stone is in there as well, which allows you to reveal a seal away a symbol as well. So that's another way of sealing away a symbol, and we've got 2 of those. So we've got some chaos bag manipulation shenanigans that we can engage in, which hopefully just tip the scales in our favour. We've got this great card here, Mists of Relay. It's a great card. It's only got 4 charges, but it allows you to evade, and you're using willpower instead of vitality. Is it vitality? It's called that one. But anyway, the shoe one. And if you succeed, you evade, and you can, if you succeed after evading, you can actually move to a connecting location as well. So nice card. Like most Mystic decks, we've got Arcane Initiate, which is an awesome card, particularly if you get it early in the piece, which allows you to search your deck for spell cards. Fantastic card. There's the card that's named after the famous podcast, Drawn to the Flame, which is great in the cellar. Other Mystics in the Investigator games have used this to great effect. You draw an encounter card, but then you just get 2 clues. So, brilliant. And this card, is not only thematically perfect for Father Mateo, Holy Rosary, but it gets +1 willpower. So it would be very fitting if he had his Holy Rosary around. So there we go. There's lots of good cards like that. So I think for me, the main issue with this deck is probably that we've only got 1 Shriveling, and the knife, because our fight isn't that great, we're probably going to be somewhat reliant on evasion, using things like Mists of Relay if things get a bit too hairy in the process, and ensuring we can, where we need to, tip the scales in our favour, which hopefully we can do that with Shriveling when we get to the Ghoul Priest, which means we'll comfortably dispatch the Ghoul Priest in that way. Getting Leader Chandler on board, well, we're 3, so we're a 3 intellect, which isn't too bad, but we don't have, I suppose if we end up with a combination of unexpected courages, and we've got 1 perception in the deck, it's possible we can, and then we're manipulating the chaos bag, it's possible we can get her on board, because that would really help if we've had to use our Shriveling and we're requiring the knife, having that +1 fight and +1 damage with Leader Chandler would certainly be very helpful. So there we go. That's our deck. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how things go. So we can close and shuffle this deck. Spoke to the Ghoul Priest. He doesn't like Father Mateo very much. Let's just say they have diametrically opposite worldviews. That's probably the best way to describe it. So it's not that the Ghoul Priest is particularly scared of Father Mateo. It's just that they have different views. Leader Chandler, yeah, she runs hot and cold on Father Mateo. Again, they have different worldviews, but sometimes they do team up where it's pragmatically necessary to get an outcome that they want. So there we go. I think that's everything that we need to do. So I think we can kick off the investigator games. Okay, so let's start by just reading out the agenda in the Act deck, and then we can go ahead and draw our opening hand. So what's going on? It's late at night. You're holed up in your study, researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlour down the hall. Doesn't sound right. Did I leave a CD on of Gregorian chants or something? I don't think so. At the same time, you hear dirt churning, as if something were digging beneath the floor. And, trapped, you leap to investigate. The door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. So there we go. That sets everything up. So where are we now? We are ready to draw our opening hand. My favourite part of the investigator games. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Everyone's like shriveling. The crowd's going shriveling, shriveling, shriveling. Okay, so yes, it would be good to get shriveling out in our first draw. I would also very much like to get the Holy Rosary as well in a draw. The knife would be good to start with, so that we've got ways to deal with ghoul minions and rats. And I wouldn't mind a bit of Chthonian Stone or Dark Prophecy, so we can already start manipulating the Chaos Bag. But I think interestingly, we've got no allies. It's very very lonely life being Father Mateo. But that's probably what I'm looking for in the opening hand. So let's see what we get. We get a Guts. Well, yeah, I mean, we're pretty high in willpower, but, you know, Guts is always a good thing, and we get to draw a card. We get the backpack. We have got a couple of items, so, yeah, I mean, I guess that could be helpful. I mean, I'm a bit hot and cold on the backpack. The problem is the deck is not really, you know, I think we might get 1 or 2 item supply cards in our top 6 cards, but I don't know we'll get more than that. That's the problem. We get another Guts. Well, I don't think we need that many Guts. And then we get Manual Dexterity. And finally, we get Arcane Studies, which is one of those cards, again, unless you've got tons of resources, is not really a lot of help. I'm not, I don't know what Father Mateo thinks, but I'm not overly keen on these cards, so I'm literally going to chuck them all in. I don't think that's a particularly strong start. So let's see what we get when we draw another 5. Perception, yeah, that's good. Emergency Cash, yeah, always handy. Missive Relay, nice card to get when we want to get onto the table. Scrying, that's a really good card to get. You can scry your own hand, or indeed you can scry the encounter deck. So not bad. And finally, we get a knife. Excellent. So that's let's put these back in. Yeah, shuffle that up. So that's a better draw. Feels like we've got more things here. We can get some things out on the table, and we can avoid the dreaded crypt chill in the process. We're going to need something by the cellar, like either Drawn to the Flame or a flashlight if we're going to deal with the cellar, but we're a bit off that at the moment. So there we go. We've got the 2 clues in the study. We are ready to roll. Here we are. There we go. We're in the investigation phase. So we'll put 3 actions on Father Mateo. 1, 2, 3. We are ready to roll with our 5. So I think the first thing is to get ourselves set up. With mystics, it's always good to get yourself organized and get yourself set up at the beginning with your spells and various other bits and pieces. So I think that's always a good place to start. So we are going to take a little bit of time to do that. So our first action is to, I think we bring out the knife. It's always handy to have on the table straight away. And our second action, that was our first action. Our second action is to pay 2 and bring out the Missive Relay. And we get 4 charges on that. Yep. And do we use the emergency cash or do we bring out the scrying? Yeah, I think I might spend another resource and bring out the... is that a good idea? Well, I suppose if we're going to have if we're going to have these 2 slots used up, get scrying done early. So, yeah, there we go. So that's our go. Sorry, that was the 3 turns. So we basically spent the turn getting out the knife, getting out the Missive Relay, and getting out scrying. So we're all sort of set up here for the future. So that was very much a setup phase. So yeah, all good. So let's move on to the from the investigation phase. Let's move on to the enemy phase, or the enema phase, as I like to call it. And of course, there are no enemas or enemies indeed to speak of. So we can move straight on into the upkeep phase, and we get Dark Prophecy. So this is fast play. When you reveal a Chaos token, instead you reveal 5. Well, okay. Well, keep that in mind for when some kind of nasty draw is required. Particularly with things like drawing the skull token when there's no ghouls around is particularly nice. Things like that. So there we go. It's a nice card. 2 resources, lots of things on the table. So I think first turn was a bit slow, but I think it's important that we get ourselves set up, and we move into the Mythos phase, our inaugural Mythos phase. What's going on? First Doom is on there, so we're off and running Mr. Mythos phase, and I think it's time for the first inaugural encounter card, which is always a fantastic thing to look forward to. I know we all look forward to an encounter deck. Yes, perfectly timed Crypt Chill would be just perfect, just dandy right now. Let's hope we don't get that. So we, yes, let's draw from the encounter deck, and we get Rotting Remains. We get Rotting Remains. Here we go. So we test 3. For each point you fail by, take a horror. Well, we are a 4. Now we could throw in Dark Prophecy, but I don't think so. Not at this stage. We've got plenty of mental health. I think we can see how we go. 3 versus 4. Straight up, Chaos Bag has 0. So there you go. No problem at all. Yes, Father Mateo sees some rotting remains in the study and just shrugs them off. He's seen much worse than that. No big deal. There we go. So that's the end of the mythos phase, and that means we can move into the good old investigation phase, and we're back in action here. 3 actions on Father Mateo. Yes. Yep. So what do we do? So I think it might be a good idea to get going on the study, because we haven't got any clues left. I wouldn't mind using this scrying, because I'd like to avoid, or I'd like to see whether we can get particular cards, but we can spend all our time in the study just scrying and things like that. So I'd rather get going and see whether we can get a couple of clues here. I want to keep perception in case we don't get a flashlight and we end up down in the cellar. It would be unfortunate if we got down there and we didn't really have any way of dealing with it. So I want to keep it, and then we may need it for Leader Chandler later on. So my first action is just to investigate. So it's a 2 versus a 3, so we need a -1 or better. Chaos Bag has -2, so we fail. Crowd goes, Well, let's try again. Chaos Bag says -4. Oh my goodness, they really don't. The Chaos Bag really doesn't want us to do this. I really am going to investigate again. I want to get at least one of these clues. And we get the skull token, which is 0, so we get 1 clue. There we go. So next turn we can hopefully get the next clue and be out of the study. So there we go. So that was a little bit disappointing, that round. We really went hard on the investigation. So we failed twice. We got a we needed a -1, so we got a -2 from the Chaos Bag. Then we got a -4 from the Chaos Bag, and then we succeeded. So that's the end of our turn. Yeah, we're off and running. First clue. Father Mateo holds up the clue. Crowd goes wild. I take a drink. And there we go. We're into turn 2. The enema phase. No enemies at all. We've got the knife there, and there are no enemies to speak of. So we move into the upkeep phase, and we get the flashlight. Great. Okay, that's good. We've got the flashlight, which means, not right now, but yeah, we're going to need that for when we get into the cellar. So that's good. That's a good draw. So fantastic. So that's nice. I really like the Holy Rosary, though. If we get the Holy Rosary, I'd feel a lot happier. And, of course, shouldn't forget, we haven't got shriveling, so I think the scrying might be something we need to use relatively soon. So, yeah, so we move into the good old mythos phase, the second mythos phase. There are now 2 doom on what's going on. Yeah, we really need to get moving on getting these clues. So let's see what the Chaos Bag has. Let's see what the Encounter deck has for us. And the Encounter deck has... Oh, no, you're kidding me. You are kidding me. Oh, no. No. Get splashed to Shroud. I don't think this has happened before. I don't think so. So we are now... It's now a 4 Shroud location. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. It's a 4 Shroud location. Well, if there was ever a time when we need to manipulate the Chaos Bag, it's probably right. It's probably now. My goodness. There we go. So yes, the study is now a 4 Shroud. So that's we've had the cellar with obscuring fog. We've probably had other things. I think we've done the hallway with obscuring fog, which was like no big deal. So yes, but never the study. I don't think so. So that's suddenly the study becomes very difficult to navigate. Father Mateo's stumbling around looking for the other clue, and there's fog everywhere. There we go. Fantastic. So we move into the investigation phase, 3 actions. Now, it is now a 4-shroud location. We have a 3. So we would need a +1. We basically need an elder sign or a +1 to succeed at this. And, you know, that can happen, but equally can't. So I think we're going to have to either... you see, the problem is that the Dark Prophecy doesn't help because... you know, we can use the skull to give a 0, but we're still -1. So I think it's the case of perception that we bring out perception to this skill test, which makes this a 5. But the problem is, even with 5, that's still only -1 or better. So we have 2 choices here. We can either throw in the flashlight, which I think is a really bad idea, or we play this, and I think we do. I think this is time for Dark Prophecy, because as long as we get a skull, or a skull will work. A cultist will work. A tablet wouldn't, because that's a -2. So as long as we get one of those 2, we're fine, because at the moment we are a 5 versus a 4, so we've got to get a -1 or better. So I'm going to pay 1. Fast play when you reveal a chaos token. Okay, and reveal 5 chaos tokens instead. Okay, so let's draw 5. It is 5, isn't it? 5 chaos tokens. So the way we do this in Octagon is to look at top X cards, which is not, but you put in 5. So we draw 5, and this is what we get. A -4, a -2, a tablet, which we don't want, a -1, and a skull. So there we go. We got the skull. Yay! We got the skull. So that means we can, like it says, choose one of those tokens, the skull, to resolve and ignore the rest. So it's the skull that we resolve. We ignore the rest. We'll shuffle those up. And indeed, so we drew a skull using Dark Prophecy. Which is a 0 where we are, so we succeed. Wow, there we go. That's fantastic. Yep. So we put those away, and we draw a card for that successful. I'll just go back to, so we draw a card, and we get manual dexterity, and we succeed, and we get the second clue. So that was our first action. That goes away because we were successful. So that was our first action. Whew, that was quite action-packed. So we succeeded in investigating the study, but only after we used perception and Dark Prophecy, quite a lot of cards, to manipulate the chaos bag. So there you go. We have the 2. We have both the clues now. And we are here in the study. Now, I'm thinking we could, I suppose, move out of the study and get up to the attic in this particular turn. Do we do that? Because we've probably already wasted a fair bit of time. So I think that probably is a good idea in this particular case. So indeed, I'm going to throw in the 2 clues. We're going to flip the trapped. You notice that the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattooed. Oh, look, I've got a tattooed rug. Tattered and it says Mom on it. Tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see a door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob and the door swings open, revealing your hallway below. You jump through the doorway, landing on your feet on soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut above you. The smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled with the scent of rot and decay. So we put into play the hallway, the cellar, and the attic and the parlour. Discard any enemies from the study, which there are none. Place the investigator in the hallway. Doing. Flip that. Flip that. and remove the study from the game. So here we are in the hallway. We're in the hallway. We've got 2 more actions, so we'll spend an action getting up to the attic. La-di-da-di-da, up to the attic. Flip the attic. 2 clues in the attic, and horror. We take a horror process. So there we are. So we're up in the attic, and we've got 1 turn left. What do we do with this? Oh, sorry, I forgot to read this. The barrier. A glowing barrier blocks the path to your parlour. As you move toward it, intense heat forces you to back away. Picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or the attic that can help. When the round ends, investigators in the hallway may spend the requisite number of clues to advance. Indeed, well, we better get scrying. In fact, I'm thinking before we do this, we actually are going to use scrying because we need to get some good cards. So what we do with scrying is spend a charge, look at the top 3 cards, return them in any order. So let's have a look. So we'll look at the top 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, great. Return them in any order. Well, I guess that's a resource. So I suppose these 2 can work because this one gives you extra resources, and this gives you extra willpower. Chthonian stone. The problem is that we've got the knife, and then if we've got the flashlight, then the Chthonian stone will. So that's probably number 3. Then that's probably number 2. Wait. That doesn't require a slot, so that's okay. Put that at number 2. Put that at number 1. There we go. Okay, so that's the end of our turn. So action-packed turn there. We first of all we used our dark prophecy and we used our perceptions to get out of the study with the obscuring fog. So that's the first thing that we did. We then threw in the clues and moved to the hallway. Father Mateo did. Then once we're in the hallway, we moved up to the attic. We took a horror, and then we scryed to see what we're going to get in the future. So that's the end of our turn. So we move into the enema phase. There are no enemas to speak of, so we move into the upkeep phase, and surprise, surprise, we get forbidden knowledge. Who'd have thought? There we go. And then we move into the third mythos phase. So there are now 3 doom on here, so this ticks over. So we can flip this. Your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It's almost as if you've been transported somewhere else entirely. Although every now and again you recognise elements of your former home. Oh, that's where that gold-plated crucifix went. I wondered where that went. There's my rosary beads. I wondered where those are gone. There's that the Bible that I'd been missing. St. James translation. The lead investigator must decide. Choose one. Either each investigator... sorry, not St. James. I do apologise. King James. Either each investigator discards 1 card at random, or his or her, from his or her hand, or the lead investigator takes 2 horror. Yeah. I don't really want to lose any cards, but we don't have any. I think there are cards in the deck for healing horror, so I feel kind of okay about taking the 2 horror. Still have 5 horror. We're pretty okay with things like rotting. We've already had a rotting remains. So I think we're going to be fine. So I think we take the 2 horror and move on. There we go. So, Rise of the Ghouls. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange... Aren't shapes silhouettes? Anyway, shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way up. You probably don't want to be there when they do, here when they do. It always feels like it should be there. Don't want to be there. Don't want to be here. Neither here nor there, really, is it? Anyway, so there we are. 7 goes. So we better get a move on, Father Mateo. Come on, we need to get some stuff happening here. So, yes, that's flipped over. So it's now time for the encounter deck. And the encounter deck has, yes, Ancient Evils. Yes, which just puts a doom on. So that's moved even faster now. So we better hurry up, Father Mateo. Things are moving fast. So we move into the investigator phase and we put 3 actions onto Father Mateo. Here we are. So, yes. So I think, I think we just do. I think we get these clues. We can worry about putting things out later. Right now we need clues. So it's a 1 versus a 3. So we need -2 or better. 1 versus 3. So that should be fairly straightforward. So first action, 1 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us a skull. Just check the... Yep. I say, so that was a skull, so that was successful. And then we'll do it again. 1 versus 3, Chaos Bag gives us a cultist who's just a -1, so we succeed again. So 2 successes, 2 actions, fantastic. So we can either move back to the hallway, or we could do something else. Maybe we should scry again, I think, because we're going to, I think it would be a good idea to do some scrying. So I am going to do that. I'm going to scry again. Look at the top 3. 1, well, we knew that one. 2, 3. Drawn to the flame. Hello, hello, hello. Perfect. That is absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Chthonian Stone 3rd. I'm going to put Arcane Studies 2nd. And I'm going to put Drawn to the Flame on the top. That's great because that means we can get the 2 clues in the cellar just like that. So we can literally move down to the cellar next go. Drawn to the Flame. All good. And in fact, what we can do as well is before we do Drawn to the Flame would be good to scry. So maybe we move into the cellar and then we wait a turn, because then we can scry, we can see what's in the encounter deck, and then we can Drawn to the Flame, so it's not so bad. So that's actually a nice way to see scrying out rather than draw something that we don't want. So there you go. So in that turn, we got both of our clues. Oh, I nearly forgot. Victory. And we get a victory point. Crowd goes wild. Father Mateo waves to the crowd. We have the victory point in the attic. So we managed to get our 2 clues, and then we scried, and we know we're going to get Drawn to the Flame next go, so that's great. Okay, so that's the end of turn 4. So we move into the enemy phase. No enemies. It's been very enemy-free so far. I doubt that's going to last. So we move into the upkeep phase, and surprise, surprise, look what we get. I would have never thought it. Drawn to the Flame. No scrying, though. This is a problem. So the thing with this one is that it's in any order, but it doesn't allow you to shuffle the deck. So for all we know, scrying is right at the bottom, which would be very, very, very unfortunate. So, yeah, there we go. So we move into the Mythos phase, and there are now already 2 Doom on Mythos because of Ancient Evils. So let's see what the encounter deck has for us, and the encounter deck has Crypt Chill. Maybe we won't be scrying after all. So Crypt Chill, test 4, and we are a 4. So it's a 4 versus a 4. I'm not throwing in Drawn to the Flame, so it's literally a 4 versus a 4. We are not getting rid of Mists of Relay. We are not getting rid of the knife. Although, I mean, you could argue that if we're using Mists of Relay, then why do we need the knife? But, there's only 4 charges on Mists of Relay. So, unfortunately, scrying will be the victim in this Crypt Chill. So, let's see how we go. It's 4 versus 4, straight up. Chaos Bag has Auto Fail. Well. We got the auto fail. let's have a look here. After an investigator reveals an auto-fail chaos token, yes, cancel that token and treat it as an elder sign. Limit once per game. Well, we will do that. So we automatically succeed. Yay! So that's gone. We automatically succeed, and we have two choices. We can draw a card and gain a resource, or if it's your turn, it's not. So we draw a card, dying, gain a resource. Very nice. Great. Brilliant. Wow. Well, that turned out all right. Thank you for that special ability. Now, knowing my luck, we're going to draw about 4 or 5 of these auto-fails, and we're going to be like, oh, if only we'd used it for something really serious. You just watch. Ghoul Priest will be looking to shrivel, and we'll get an auto-fail, and we'll be like, no! Anyway, we will see. So, there we go. That was, there we go. We got some extra resources and extra cards. Things are looking a bit more positive for Father Mateo. So let's move into the good old investigation phase. We'll put 3 actions on the good father. And main thing is to get down into the cellar now. So our first action will be into the hallway. Boing. Second action, into the cellar. Donk, donk, donk. Flip the cellar. Now as we're going down, we trip on our cassock and go tumbling down the stairs. Ow! And we take a damage. So here we are in the cellar. Now, I do want to use Drawn to the Flame, but I want to know, I want to be able to actually decide what I'm going to draw for Drawn to the Flame. So we have an extra turn, so there's something else we could do. We probably won't need the flashlight. So do we bring out Forbidden Knowledge, which allows us extra things, or do we bring out Arcane Studies? Which I think we bring out the Forbidden Knowledge. Why not? It doesn't take up any slots. We can use it to give us extra resource if we need to, even though we take a horror in the process, which is great. Not great for Father Mateo, but if we need to do it. So I'm just going to, or we could draw a card, hold on. Or we could just draw a card and get extra cards, which might be a better thing to do because we really need some extra cards. I might draw an extra card instead. There we go. Chthonian Stone. Well, we actually, I should have known. We knew we were going to get that. So there we go. So I wonder what I would seal away with the Chthonian Stone. Probably the tablet is the obvious thing to seal away. Because yeah, we don't want the tablet. So because tablet's -2 and you take damage, so that might be a thing to do. So there we go. That's the end of our turn. So basically we just got ourselves down into the cellar, we took a damage and we drew a card. That's what we did because we want to keep scrying for when we do Dawn to the Flame, which will be next turn. Okay, so that's the end of that turn. We move into the enemy phase. There are still no enemies to speak of. So we move into the upkeep phase. We have a ton of cards now and 2 lots of manual dexterity. And we haven't had any grasping hands, so no need to use them as yet. But there you go. So, so I guess it's yes, it's time for. We've got the upkeep phase. We've got lots of resources. So let's move into the Mythos phase. We're in turn 7, so we're not going to be doing this very fast. We're not going to be beating Ashcan Pete's record. So it's in the Mythos phase. There's now 3 on Rise to the Rise of the Ghouls. Let's see what the Encounter deck has. Encounter deck has, well. It was only a matter of time. The Encounter deck has a Ghoul Minion. Ghoul Minion. Hello. I'm a Ghoul Minion. I'm going to bash you. There we go. We've got a Ghoul Minion. So we'll need to deal with the Ghoul Minion and see how we go with that. So we move into the investigation phase, 3 actions on Father Mateo. And the first thing we need to do is work out what we're going to do with this Ghoul Minion. Now, we can fight the Ghoul Minion. He's 2 fight, and so are we. But we can use the knife, which would give us 3 fight. So it would be a 3 versus a 2. We've not really... Have we got any fight things? We don't. So It's not like we can boost our fight. So it would be a 3 versus a 2. Or we throw the knife, so we chuck the knife at it, which would give us 4 versus 2 and would kill it. But it seems like a bit of a waste of the old knife, because we're probably not going to hang around and sell it too long. So what I'm thinking is we've got 2 of these manual dexterities now. So what I think we do is we're a 3. So I think we throw in a manual dexterity, which would make us a 5 versus a 2. See how we go. So a 5 versus a 2. So it's a -3 or better. That's right, isn't it? 3, 5. 5 versus 2. -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us -1. Easy. So, oh, where's Father Mateo gone? All disappeared. Okay, we can move this to the yeah, I don't know where my other cards went. They're supposed to go into the discard pile, but anyway. And we successfully draw a card, and we get Unexpected Courage. Very nice. So that's our first action. For our next action, we will I realise why there's nothing in the discard pile, because I don't think we discarded anything. I'm thinking, where's all my discard cards gone? I don't think we discarded anything. Next thing will be, here we go. Our next point will be to scry. That's the final scrying. So we look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck this time. So let's have a look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck and put them back in any order. So these are the top 3 cards. 1, oh, another Ghoul. 2, Crypt Chill. 3, oh, the Flesh Eater. So, okay, we got to draw one of these with Drawn to the Flame. So, first of all, if it's the Flesh Eater, then the Flesh Eater spawns in the attic. So no biggie. If it's Crypt Chill, we don't need scrying anymore. So if we failed that, that would be no biggie either. Ghoul Minion, I really wouldn't want to draw a Ghoul Minion, so I think we put the Ghoul Minion third. I think we probably put the Flesh Eater second, and I think we put Crypt Chill third. That way. Okay. So there we go. Very nice. Yeah. Oh, we should have exhausted scrying. Yeah, we didn't use scrying more than once in any turn, so it didn't matter. But yes, we should have exhausted scrying. Okay, so there we go. That was our second turn. And our third turn, I didn't put the clues on here. I'm all over the place tonight. Our third turn will be to play Drawn to the Flame. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, which is Crypt Chill. And we'll test for Crypt Chill. So it's 4 versus 4. We just do a straight up 4 versus 4. Chaos Bag says -1. If you fail, take a horror. Bugger. So we do take a horror. There we go. But we succeed and we discover 2 clues at your location. So there we go. We got the clues. That's another victory point. Crowd goes wild. Father Mateo waves again to the crowd. And because we failed the Crypt Chill, we lose scrying as well. There we go. No big deal. So that all worked out okay. So we avoided the Ghoul Minion. We scryed and manipulated the encounter deck. We then played Drawn to the Flame. We got the Crypt Chill, which we failed, and we lost the scrying, but we'd used up all the charges anyway, and we got 2 clues. So we now have all the clues. So there we go. Excellent. Well done, Father Mateo. I think it's now time to move forward into the enemy phase. The enemy's exhausted, so not going to do anything. So we're in the upkeep phase. Enemy's back. Wow, lots of cards, but no scrying. Unfortunately. So there we go. Lots of resources. So bringing out Arcane Studies feels like a thing. Although, I mean, that would help us with Leader Chandler, actually. if we have the arcane studies on the table. Perhaps we also think about sealing something away as well. So there we go. Yeah. So we move into the Mythos phase. There are now 4 on Rise of the Ghouls. So this is moving forward at a pace. And the encounter deck has, as we know, surprise, surprise, the Flesh Eater, who moves into the attic. Nom, 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 nom. Yeah, it'd be nice to get this Flesh Eater, but I'm not sure. 4 attack, and we are only 2, so we're already at -2. Very difficult to kill the Flesh Eater without something like shriveling. So I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. Not with the weaponry that we have. So I think we're going to unfortunately have to leave the Flesh Eater behind. Even though it would be nice to get the extra victory point, I think the thing we have to focus on is getting the right things for the Ghoul Priest. And at the moment, we don't really have them. Okay, so there we go. That's the end of the Mythos phase. We move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Father Mateo. So what are we going to do? Well, I think the first thing is to get the hell out of dodge. So we could use one of these actually. Spend a charge and evade and actually move. So that would be very... And if we get one of those ones, we just discard a card from our hand. So that's not too bad, actually. So I'm thinking that actually might be worthwhile using. Let's do that. Although if we use this one, we actually get to draw a card, and we really do need to draw some cards. So it's interesting. It's either do we get a free move or do we get a free card draw? I'm actually thinking... Using willpower, yeah. I'm actually thinking the free card draw at this stage is probably better. So that's a 5 versus a 2 again. So that's first action to evade. Chaos Bag says 0, so we're successful. We evade the Ghoul minion. Oh, he's coming in! And we draw a card. Emergency cash. And then I think we second action is we move to the hallway. So we're here in the hallway. What do we do for the third action? We've got a lot of things we could potentially do. How many cards have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 cards, so we won't have to throw one away. So, I think I might spend 2 and bring out the arcane studies. I'm thinking that if we get the shriveling arcane studies and we've got 2 emergency caches, we're going to kill the Ghoul Priest easy. So I'm just trying to think ahead. I'm trying to stay positive that the shriveling is going to come out sometime soon. Okay, that's the end of the turn. So this turn we evaded the minion. We got into the hallway where we need to be for the Ghoul Priest. We've got everything we need, but we need shriveling. It's like the 17 cards here. We need shriveling as soon as possible. Actually, the Arcane Initiate would be nice because we can use the Arcane Initiate to try and find it, and shriveling as well. Anyway, so let's move forward into the enemy phase. Well, the enemies are there, but they're not moving onto us at the moment. So move into the upkeep phase. Yeah, Serpent of Yig. So we put the look at all the things in the chaos bag. Take out that, close and shuffle, and put that on the Serpent of Yig. the Chaos Token and seal it on Serpent of Yig. And he's not going to go away, so we do need to deal with him. So thankfully we have the... that's going to just take up some time, which is kind of annoying. But thankfully we've got the knife on board. So, but he's a 3. It's so annoying when they're an odd number like that. But anyway, we will need to deal with him because he's not going away. And there's no way we're throwing in and bringing in the Ghoul Priest, because then really what we're doing is evading and probably resigning. And I don't feel like we're quite there yet. So that was an unfortunate draw, a weakness, and later in the game. There's now 5 on Rise of the Ghouls, so things are still moving forward, but we do have a little bit of time before all the ghouls start turning up in the hallway, and we will really be in a lot of trouble. We're not there yet. So, there we go. So let's draw from the encounter deck. And the encounter deck has... Oh, you're kidding me. Oh no. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yes, of course, we should have known we were going to get this. Why am I surprised? We actually... of course. I'm thinking, yes, we scried for this. So we saw this in our future. Oh boy, this is this is bad. We've got ghouls and enemies everywhere now. Oh my goodness, this is not looking good. Ah boy, okay. It's the investigation phase. 3 actions on Father Mateo. So here we are. We no longer have the Elder Sign. We have a knife. We have the Mists of Relay. And that's about it. Oh boy. Oh dear. Okay. This is starting to feel like a resigned situation. Because after this turn, yeah. Anyway, so what do we do? Well, we either fight or evade these 2. We are a 2 fight. We can use unexpected courage to improve our fight outcome. Yeah. So what we could do is try and get rid of this Serpent of Yig. Because I think if we don't fight at all, we're just going to be constantly evading. So if we're going to have a shot at an extra go next turn, we need to deal with these 2. So I think I'm going to very similar in many ways, but I think I'm going to try and get my Elder Sign back. At the very least, but we've also got to be careful about so if we throw the knife, yeah, I think we've got to try and get rid of this Serpent of Yig, but do we try to evade the Ghoul minion first? Or do we just try and kill this Serpent of Yig and give ourselves 3 turns? I think we just try and kill this Serpent of Yig. We can absorb a bit more damage, although we're getting high on horror. So I think what we do is, first of all, for our first action, we discard the knife, which gives us a +2 fight. So that's a 2 fight, and we are a 4. So 2 versus 4. Do we use this to make it a 6 versus, or do we try and get a 2. I think we try and do a 2 versus 4 because we're going to have to hit it again, and we've got nothing else. So I think we go for a 2 versus 4. If this doesn't work, then I think we're misting of relaying. I think. Yeah. Okay, let's go for it. So 2 versus 4. We've thrown the knife, which would do 2 damage. 2 versus 4 on the Serpents of Yig. So we need a -2 or better. Chaos Bag has... Oh. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. So, yes. So that was a complete failure. So I think it's evasion time instead. So I think we use one of these to evade the Serpents of Yig. So that's a 4 versus a 2. Do we tempt fate? No, I think we make it a 5 versus a 2. -3 or better. Chaos Bag. You can't get the Elder Sign. Sorry, Octagon is Octagon is not really. That shouldn't really be possible. Anyway, let's try again. So we get a -2. Oh, it keeps. I don't think Octagon is necessarily because I keep taking it out. Is it there? Yes, and it keeps putting it back in. So let's see if it's still there. Look at all cards. Oh, it's not there now. Okay. So we get a -2. So we succeed, which means we evade. We don't want to move to a connecting location, so we just evade the Serpent of Yig. And then we do it again. I think we spend another clue, so that's a 2 versus a 5. 2 versus 5. Chaos Bag says +1. So again we succeed. There we go. So that's it. That's our go. So we are bringing on the Ghoul Priest, and then I think we're getting the hell out of here, and we are resigning. I think that's what we're going to do. Unfortunately, we haven't got the shriveling. We're getting overrun very badly with enemies. We're in a pretty unhappy situation here all around. So we move into the enemy phase. Enemies are all exhausted, so we move into the upkeep phase. We get another Mists of Relay. These we engage again. These two. We seem to have lost the. Is it back in here? Yes, it's back in here again. We'll just what we'll have to do is if we draw it, we'll just have to ignore it. So it just keeps disappearing every time the upkeep phase happens. I don't think the Chaos Bag's quite been set up for this sort of situation unless I'm not doing it quite right. So that's the upkeep phase. We move into the Mythos phase. There are now 6 Doom on here, so this will flip next go, and then what will happen is that these other ghouls will start. But before we move to the Mythos phase, sorry, I moved ahead of myself there. I would have thrown in the clues. Sorry, I was moving far too fast for myself. So we're going to move in the 3 clues. So I'll just do this and then we'll move forward with the Mythos phase. So we'll flip this. Using the barrel from the attic, you carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders as it consumes the ice, then hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking the passage into the parlour has vanished to reveal the parlour. Put Leader Chandler in the parlour. Oh, hello, Father. Oh, dear. Things look a bit rough. And we put the Ghoul Priest in. Oh, it's a party. It's a killing party. Ha ha. So there we go. The barrier. The glowing barrier blocks the path to your parlour as you move. No, we've done that bit. Where is it? Oh, we seem to have lost the... here it is. How strange. What have you done? A woman with a torch stands in your parlour, a glimmer of hatred in her eyes. What have you done to my barrier? She screams furious. Before you can answer, a ghastly wail sounds behind you, and a creature wearing robes and a deer skull mask tears through the wall, advancing towards you. If the Ghoul Priest is defeated, advance. Yeah. Okay. So we were in the Mythos phase. We got the 6th clue. So it's now time for the encounter deck. And the encounter deck, well, another. Look at this. I thought that that Finn had it rough. Looks like Father Mateo's got it super rough as well. Oh my goodness. What are we going to do with all of this? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Thank goodness, or thank God, as Father Mateo would probably say, for Missive Relay, because otherwise things are going to be very nasty. Okay, so we put 3 actions onto the Father. So I think it's pretty obvious. We don't have scrying. We've got no way, even with Lita, of really taking down the Ghoul Priest. So I think there's really only one course of action for us here, and that's the first action is to use the Missive Relay again, and so that's evade. So we're going to evade the Ghoul Priest. 4 versus 4. So it's 4 versus 4, but we've got guts here, so that's a 6 versus a 4. 8 versus a 4. So as long as we don't get an auto fail, it's going to happen. Chaos Bag says, "Oh, you can't have the Elder Sign." Chaos Bag says, "Oh, what? I don't believe it." Chaos Bag says auto fail. Oh my goodness. What has Father Mateo done to deserve this? I don't know. But anyway, auto fail. That's all right. We will do it again. So his second action will be Missive Relay again. It's the final Missive Relay. It's a 4 versus a 4. Have we got any other? We don't, but we can add in 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can make it an 8 versus a 4. Chaos Bag says, did I just draw another auto fail? Did I just draw another auto fail? I think I did. I did draw another auto fail. They are all here, aren't they? They are all here. So we drew another auto fail. Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is our final action. I don't know what we can... Oh, yes. So our final action, our third action, is to evade the Ghoul Priest, I guess. So we're a 3. We can... Oh, dear. That's just terrible. We can throw in a 4, make it a 4. That's all we can do. So it's a 4 versus a 4. 0 or better. Chaos Bag says +1. Chaos Bag says +1. Oh my goodness. So we evade the Ghoul Priest. So we evade the Ghoul Priest. Yes, so we managed to evade the Ghoul Priest, and we move into the enemy phase, and we take 1, 2, 3 damage, and 1, 2, 3 horror. We are close to going insane, and we probably will next time. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we drew 2 auto fails. I still find that unbelievable. Draws an auto fail. Draws an auto fail. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. I don't think I've ever had such bad luck. Okay, so we took all of that in the enemy phase. We move into the upkeep phase. The Ghoul Priest is back onto us. Oh dear. I thought for sure with Missive Relay that we would have been out and resigned, but that wasn't going to happen with the Chaos Pack. Oh my goodness, this has got to be the worst. Like, we are going down so badly. It's terrible. So we moved into the upkeep phase, yes, we move into the agenda phase. There are seven on here, so this flips. And we get a feral beast, roughly humanoid and canine cast with hooves for feet, tears through the ground in front of you. Below the floor, you see vast tunnels beneath your house. Fiendish howling echoes from deep within the underground caverns. So shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck and draw a ghoul enemy is basically what we need to do. So we'll go here. We will shuffle the discard pile, shuffle into the encounter deck. Yes. Then we'll shuffle that up, and then we will start drawing. Nope, 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 nope. Oh yes, sorry, Icy Ghoul. I was thrown by the fact that there was a Dark Prophecy in the encounter deck. Anyway, so there we go. Icy Ghoul is in the cellar. And yes, so now at the end of the enemy phase, each unengaged ghoul enemy moves towards the parlor. At the end of the round, place a doom on each agenda. Well, that's none of that's going to happen. Before we do the investigation phase, though, we need to I know what's happened. That was for some reason, it put my discard cards into the encounter discard deck. That's why we did that. That's why Dark Prophecy's there. Okay, so we draw an encounter card, which is a Crypt Chill. So we'll just do the Chaos Bag. Chaos Bag says -1, so that is a failure. So we'll lose Missive Relay. Can we do that's an asset? Yes. Doesn't matter. So there we go. That's the end of that phase. We put 3 actions onto Father Mateo. So really, I'm not really sure what we can do here. I don't think there is anything we can do. We could draw cards, I suppose. Yeah, but no, we can't because we've got all of these. So we would, So. I think so. I guess we try and evade the Ghoul Priest again. So we are 4, and the Ghoul Priest is a 4. We can't use that. Can we use any of these? No. So a 4 versus a 4. Chaos Bag says auto fail again. We'll try and evade the Ghoul Priest again. Chaos Bag says -2, and we try and evade the Ghoul Priest for a 3rd time. Chaos Bag says no. We probably, if there is a ghoul enemy at your location, take a damage. So we take a damage. Ooh, we're so close on both counts. And that's the end of our turn. So we move into the enemy phase, which I think I've accidentally moved it forward to the enemy phase. We are in the enemy phase. Well, which do we take? Do we take physical or mental trauma? Probably physical if you're going to use the Grim rule. Yes, so we probably take the physical trauma, which brings us down to 5. So we get whacked by the Ghoul Priest. And Father Mateo goes down. Oh my goodness, what a disappointing end to this scenario. I had such high hopes. The crowd goes really sad. Father Mateo gets taken off in a stretcher. The Ghoul Priest and the Ghoul minions are all dancing around. It's so rare that they actually manage to win these days. So that was a very, 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 very unfortunate round for Father Mateo. It didn't really go as we would hope. He didn't really get any of his... Apart from the Mists of Relay, we got no scrying. We didn't get any of the rosary beads or things like that. We did manage to still get 2 victory points in the process. So, and he does have 5, so he'll be starting with 7 experience points for the next game. So it's not like he won't be able to change his deck somewhat. But that really didn't go well. We had an absolutely horrendous round with the Ghoul Priest, where we drew 2 auto fails. I can't believe how many auto fails that we drew. That was just horrendous. And so as a consequence, we weren't able to evade, move into the parlour, and even resign. So that was very, very unfortunate. And so that's the way it goes sometimes in the investigator games and the Arkham Horror the card games. So thank you very much for watching. Next week, episode 21 will be, I'm really looking forward to it and really scared to do it as well. Calvin, I've never played Calvin before. I've got no idea how I'm going to play him in the gathering, but we'll see how we go. It will be very interesting. And if you want to see where Father Mateo is on the table, we'll be very, very high up. But if you want to see that, we'll be here after the video. So thank you once again. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time in the Investigator games. Thank you very much.